You are listening to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast presented by Realm of the Mist Entertainment with your host, John Tolley.
Hello everyone and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. We are coming today, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Mark Tolley, and joining me today, straight out of the back to tank, is Mr. Joe Cahill. Joe, how are you doing today?
Oh, I am up and around a little bit, so good day for you to choose to do an episode.
That's good. Unfortunately, Ray is on a special assignment for the Rebellion right now and is unable to join us, but he will be back next week. And again, we apologize for having no show this past week. Things just happen again. Life just happens, and things. But again, we do apologize as always that we weren't able to put out an episode last week. So anyway, getting right into it, there's been a few news items going around the Star Wars universe right now. One is, of course, the fact that original series actor Dennis Lawson will be reprising his role as Wedge Antilles in The Last Jedi. And this, for a lot of fans, this was a big deal because Wedge is definitely a fan favorite, especially from the Legends book. He played a big role in a lot of the Legends books. So finally seeing Wedge back in action is going to be pretty cool, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I was wondering why we hadn't yet.
Yeah. I know for a while he kind of stepped away, like a lot of Star Wars fans, he kind of stepped away from it. But to paraphrase another movie genre, just when you think it's, you're out of it, it pulls you back in.
Yeah, I think they're probably doing it as kind of a nostalgia.
Yeah.
Anything to get people in the theater because they have not had that huge.
Yeah.
Home run.
Yeah. You're cutting out a little bit there, but Joe.
Oh.
I don't know if it's
that a little better?
Yeah, there we go. Technical difficulties, okay. People. But I excuse me. Yeah, I agree, and we're gonna have a uncle and nephew duo in Star Wars now. Not in the same movie, but as many of you may or may not know, Dennis Lawson is, of course, the uncle to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not the actual Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the actor who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I don't know if you heard the rant recently by my mind just went blank.
Uh-oh.
I know that's never a good thing. That is never a good thing, and I'm going to have to look it up right now. And ladies and gentlemen, you are seeing what it's like in real life when you don't remember something and you don't prepare. There we go. Okay. The current rant by Freddie Prinze Jr. I don't know if you've been able to listen to it or read anything about it, Joe.
No, I haven't seen that one. What's Freddie's problem with it?
Freddie, of course, did the voice of Kanan Jarrus in the TV show Rebels, and he is a huge Star Wars fan, massive Star Wars fan. has been all his life. And he went a lot of people on a rant on another podcast, and from what I understand, his whole point was about people complaining about how easy it was for Rey to learn to be a Jedi, and he said his basic rant was, we get basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, that we get so upset about Rey learning this stuff so quick that we forget how quickly Luke learned how to be a Jedi, and the things that Luke was able to do rather quickly. And the fact that we're taking it so seriously, we're also forgetting that Star Wars is, at its heart, a movie for kids.
That's a big point right there.
Yeah, that we're taking it so seriously, and we're just... And of course, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what it boiled down to was, us not forgetting what Star Wars is about and who Star Wars is for. And it's for kids, and that's not to say that it's just for kids, but that's what Lucas's our target audience was. He made it because he made it out of nostalgia for remembering the movies and the movie serials that he watched as a kid, the Buck Rogers, the
Flash
Gordon, Flash Gordon. Stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's Star Wars is
right. I mean,
for kids.
Yet Luke was really only on Dagobah for a couple of days, max.
Well,
it depends on what the travel time was for the Falcon.
And everything I've heard it would have been, since the Falcon was going at the time without light speed, it would have taken longer. So from what I read and from what I've heard, it was a few months. It was 2 or 3 months that he was on Dagobah. So it wasn't just a few days or a few weeks. There was considerable time, but it wasn't like years. He was basically training for about 3 months, and then he went back and probably trained for another year. Because I'm not sure what the time period jump is between Empire and Jedi. But again, there was some considerable time that was there, and during that time he was doing training on his own when he was on Tatooine trying to rescue Han. We have there's a deleted scene where he is seen building his lightsaber. So we know that he did do some training on Tatooine by himself. Probably found the journals of Obi-Wan and used that to kind of supplement his training. But yeah, there was some time. But again, I mean, not getting off subject, but this is a movie that was meant as a fantasy movie for basically all ages, but to appeal to the kid in all of us. I mean, I think that's one thing that Star Wars has always tried to do, is to appeal to the kid and that little fan in every one of us to dream of flying a spaceship. I mean, what Star Wars fan hasn't dreamed of flying the Millennium Falcon?
Me.
You haven't dreamed about it?
No, I want an X-Wing.
Yeah, oh yes, I do. Yes, I agree. Yes, X-Wings are... Yeah.
If I'm going to fly something, I'm going to fly the X-Wing. If I'm going to command something, give me a Star Destroyer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, X-Wing, yes. I was always more... I like the X-Wing, but the A-Wing was always mine. I like the A-Wings. Personal preference.
A-Wing, it's a cockpit.
Yeah.
If we're going to go there, then I want the Tri-Fighters from the Chiss-Ascendancy.
Oh, yeah. Or the TIE Defender.
Yeah. Let's get into the really cool fighters then.
Oh yeah, yes. That's one thing. that I really appreciate about this series of Rebels is they go into the manufacturing of some of the more famous starfighters, like the um, one of the key plot elements with when they bring Thrawn in, Grand Admiral Thrawn in, is there you get this kind of behind the scenes look within the Empire of this kind of rivalry between Thrawn, who has developed the TIE Defender, and um, the at the time they were starting development of the Death Star, and there was this kind of rivalry between which one would win out and get the major contract to go through with production. And of course, in the end, we all know it ended up being the Death Star. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to see the kind of machinations in that show. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Rebels.
Well, we do have the news of that we're going to get another visitation to the Thrawn.
Yes, a new Thrawn, which, and we also got another series of books announced too, which will kind of fill in the gaps and take us right up to where we are currently with the Rise of Skywalker. And I believe that the Thrawn book will kind of bring us up in a way close to where we are now, to kind of fill in the gaps. I know they're waiting for a lot of these books until Last Jedi is in theaters because there's a lot of spoilery stuff in these books, of course, so they're not wanting to tip their hand too early. But we also got a quick glimpse of that the Star Wars universe will continue after Last Jedi, within the books at least. So yeah, quite a bit of Star Wars news, but nothing really definitive. As far as we just got some titles and time dates as far as when these books will
sneak out on us
within the Star Wars timeline at least, and but yeah, that's about all I have. Do you have any other more news that you've heard about?
Oh, let me see here. Let me check. I try to share any news that I see.
Yes.
Right away over to our page.
Yes, that
on
is
Facebook. By the way, War of the Stars.
War of the Stars Facebook page. Yes, of course.
Facebook page. Everybody should go over there and follow us.
Yes.
The little sneak peek, I guess they gave at Comic-Con about Star Wars after the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
So Project Luminous, I'm thinking similar to a, Marvel universe or Marvel phase, whatever, and is how they're going to do it and call them projects. So yeah, I'm curious about what they're going to do, where we're going to go from here. Are we going to go in a totally new direction? Is it going to be sticking around at least with some of the canon?
Yeah.
Are we going to delve into the Legends? Are we going to bring some of that back in?
I think that would be something that would be interesting because Disney has shown in the past that they're not afraid to, delve into Legends and bring Legends back. So, them bringing in Legends characters or Legend story ideas wouldn't surprise me. They are very careful when they do it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we will get exactly what we got in Legends. I mean, Thrawn is a good example. In Legends, Thrawn didn't show up until after the basically the fall of the Empire, or at least the Empire under Palpatine. Whereas in the new canon, he shows up fairly early on in the Rebellion. within the rebellion.
Right.
So, they'll make changes to it. So, for those expecting someone like Mara Jade to show up and, be exactly who she was, not saying that she won't show up, she might, but don't be surprised if she's not exactly what you think she should be or what she was. The same with anything that they might bring in. They're going to make changes, they're going to adapt it, and
and they said they're going to be done with the Skywalker.
Yes, the Skywalker
line.
Saga is done.
So they got to be careful which legends they bring in.
Exactly. And we've talked about this before, like with them possibly doing Knights of the Old Republic in a movie. It's not going to be beat for beat like the game was.
Correct.
It's not going to be that exact storyline. They're going to make their own storyline.
Set in the time period.
Set in that time period. And, I think they'd be amiss if they didn't bring in characters like Bastila or especially Revan or Darth Malak. But it's not going to be that exact storyline from I said, from the game. It's going to be its own story, and honestly, with Benioff and Weiss in charge of writing that story, I have a lot of faith, a lot of hope. I know a lot of people are raising an eyebrow, especially after the last season of Game of Thrones, and a few other misses that Weiss has had. They both have had that, but you had, what was it, 10 seasons of Game of Thrones, or is it 7?
I think the final one was the 7th season.
7th season. So you had only 6 seasons of really, really good writing by these two, and I think that having a movie written by those two set in that time period is almost perfectly within their wheelhouse.
Right. And with the Disney Channel coming.
Yeah.
Mandalorians. I would love to see them do something with, especially now that we've got Wedge back. Rogue Squadron.
Oh, I would love to see a Rogue Squadron. That's what we need to do. A petition for a Rogue Squadron TV show.
That would be.
I think that
awesome.
Would be awesome. I remember as a kid growing up reading the X-Wing novels, young adult novels, and I fell in love with Rogue Squadron.
Oh yeah, the novels, the comics. Dark Horse put out comics for a while. It was.
Yep.
I was really into.
Oh yeah.
Into the X-Wing series of books.
Oh yes, definitely.
So
well, I think
would be a fun place to go.
That would be. And also bringing back the original X-Wing video game.
Well, there's a chance for him to make more money.
There
Marketing, guys.
There you go.
You do the show, you got the game back. You can market.
There you go.
You could do a big update on the game with today's tech.
Oh, I would love an X-Wing game with VR.
That would be amazing.
Feel like right in the cockpit, just flying an X-Wing.
Or do the whole cockpit.
Oh yeah, yes. Why stop there?
So anywho, what was your other plan for today?
Well, we are going to. I asked you earlier, as you know, to come up with some what-if scenarios. We're going to look at those instances within the Star Wars universe that might have changed things. If slight things had changed, what we think the Star Wars universe would have been like if things had gone a different way from a certain point of view. So, Joe, I will let you start. What is your first what if scenario?
What if Luke accepted Darth Vader's proposal in Return of
In return?
To join and overthrow the Emperor. Return of the Jedi. To overthrow the Emperor. Now, I'm not saying he has to go dark side or anything.
Well, I think that, that almost has to be a given, because that's a hard one. Because
I tried to make it that way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I think he doesn't. Well, here's the thing. Does him joining him on the Death Star right then change anything of the outcome of the battle on the outside? That's the question. Because if the Emperor is killed and Luke and Vader go off together, does it really change anything except for the fact that you now have Vader and Luke now being considered a traitor to the rebellion because he's now helping his dad? And that's a hard one because you got me stumped, man. There's so many variables that could happen. I don't see Luke. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, he could bring Dad back.
He could.
They become benevolent rulers together. He does go dark side, becomes, Darth Apprentice, whatever, and the battle on the outside actually, say the rebels lose it because now it's a much better control. We've all seen in the Legends books and in other places where the force power and concentration of the ruler is used to enhance their force's ability to fight.
That's always, it's the butterfly effect of one thing changes and that changes the outcome of everything else. So it is possible that, and it also depends on at what point in the battle the Emperor is overthrown.
Right.
If it's
early.
If it's early, then yes, I think that could change the tide. But if it's near the end of the battle and when they've already started to try to break through and making their run on the Death Star, then, the Death Star could still be destroyed. And there's the possibility that they may not be able to get out.
Yes, all three of them gone.
All three of them are killed. And then there's the possibility, if Luke stays light and manages to convince his dad to turn to the light side, and they overthrow the Emperor and kill him without Vader dying, I don't think that the rebellion at that point, getting close to being the New Republic, would welcome Anakin Skywalker back in with open arms.
Right.
There would have to be a trial, at least. If not, people, I'm sure there'd be people there in the rebellion that would want just to summarily execute him. Forget the formalities. Give me a blaster.
War crimes trial. What? We know he did it.
Yeah. And that brings up another interesting what if that.
Now, do we get what I was thinking would be awesome is, do we get a massive lightsaber fight in the throne room, aka Kylo Ren and Rey versus the Red Guards.
Oh.
Do we get Vader and Luke fighting, Palpatine's Red Guards?
Well, that's interesting.
That right there would make it worth it to me.
Yeah. Because if you remember, the guards were on the outside. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be very hard for Palpatine to just press a button and boom, they'd be right there. But still, they were on the outside, so they could, make some sort of excuse for, oh, look, the Emperor's dead. Oh, no. There was a horrible accident. Oh, whatever shall we do? Oh, I guess I'll take over now. Much like what Kylo did.
Yeah, I'm in charge.
The Supreme Leader's dead. Long live the Supreme Leader. My what if scenario is, what if Luke had got accepted to the Imperial Academy? And left Tatooine early.
I think Luke would have ended up being a very nice, noble fighter pilot for the Empire.
Well, here's the thing, though. He still had the last name, and that last name would have came up eventually. And Vader would have noticed, like, there's a Skywalker that's a pilot from Tatooine. I think
or
that
would he? Would they even have had the name flagged?
Probably not, but
I mean, for all we know, Skywalker is Smith in their universe.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, is in the actual canon, there's a comic that explains how Vader found out who Luke was. And it was after the first Death Star was destroyed, and he sends out Fett to find out who this guy was, and he finds out that he was the nephew of a moisture farmer, and the last name was Skywalker. And the last scene you see is when he gets the name is Vader standing on the bridge of his Super Star Destroyer, and he just clenches his fist, and you see the view screen in front of him just start to crack as he realizes. I'm
gonna dig back through my collection for that.
As he realizes who it is.
Obi-Wan pulled a fast one on me, though.
Yes, he did. So I think Skywalker might be a common name, but I think if he was to put that this was a Skywalker who happened to be from Tatooine, that would
put it together. Yeah,
that would raise some red flags. Then it's a matter of what does Vader do with that information once he finds it out? Does he go and... Because at that point, Luke would have been fully immersed in the Imperial dogma and raised, all hail the Empire, everything like that.
Yeah, so, a Baron Fell.
Yeah.
A young Baron Fell.
Does he go and try and, let him know? Because another thing that would have really made him even more is the fact that even though he wasn't trained as a Jedi, he still had those natural force abilities. So he would have been a great fighter pilot and probably have gotten promoted rather quickly and maybe even been flagged to be part of Vader's squadron.
Hence my mention of Baron Fell.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's a really interesting one because it doesn't necessarily have Luke turning to the dark side right away, but it gives an interesting dichotomy between the two. And again, there's the distinct possibility that if that was to happen, that their paths may never cross. Right.
Well, does Vader want to acknowledge that his son is alive? Because, the rule of two.
Exactly.
You're a little disappointed in me, boss? Because, oh, dang, I never should have told you about my son.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, he could also do pull what he did in the Legends in the video games, where he uses Luke as a secret apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
He trains him in secret. Still having him, keeping him, training him still as a fighter pilot, but on the side, he's training him as a Sith.
Which I think would be more likely, because I could see Vader taking an interest in this young pilot.
Yes. And here's the other question. Does he tell Luke who he is?
Yeah, I think he would eventually tell him.
Yeah.
About who his father, that I'm your father.
Yeah.
And then do it from that point of view. You make the Jedi and everything the bad guys.
Oh, well, and I mean, that whole scenario where, Luke, Vader asks Luke, do you know what happened to your father? And instead of saying, you killed him, he could say something like, well, yeah, he was a spice freighter pilot. And then Vader says, no, yeah. I am your father. And yeah, somehow I don't see Luke going, no, at that point.
Yeah, back then he'd be like, really? My dad's the number 2 guy in the Empire? This is cool! Because, he's a loyal little march stepper. Still got you? Mark? And we're back. Are we back? I cannot hear you.
All right. So as we were talking about, I think, and if we know anything about Luke's personality, natural personality, I think you might have seen a Luke that was much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Arrogant, much more well, and not just arrogant, but I think he would have had this sense of entitlement. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think he would also been he would have been much closer to what we think of when a lot of times, especially people of my age and your age, when we think of quote unquote millennial, he would have had that type of like, of course I deserve this. Look who I am, especially when he found out who his dad was. It would have been like, of course I deserve this. Look who my dad is.
Yeah, we're the best. Yeah, of course. What do you mean I have to? What do you mean I can't have the best of everything in the Empire? Do you know who my dad is? Yeah. Vader's like, this is true. Yeah. No, that would have been. It would have been. That would have been. Yeah. Bela would have been. Lord. Lord Vader. Interesting. Yeah, and he would have failed in his mission in a way. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would have raised some no, not at all. Not at all. Yes, the drama king, Darth Vader. Ever the drama king. He is. Yeah, he can. Gotta love old Annie. Yes. Darth Annie. Oh, have you seen, they have a video where they took all the lines from young Anakin when he was a kid and put them into the very first scene of Darth Vader on the very first scene you see Darth Vader in Star Wars, but they dubbed over all of Anakin's lines from the episode 1. Oh, it is hilarious. It is hilarious to see big Darth Vader and then little Annie's voice coming out of it. Yeah. Now this is pod racing. Pod racing. Oh. So, what about you? Do you have what is your second what if scenario?
Second what if scenario. Really got to look at strong first one. Second one. I would say, what if all the legends and everything happened? Was the Emperor a bad guy? A good guy? Was he just preparing for the fall?
Oh, well, and this is something we're going to actually next week we're going to touch on a little bit more in depth, but give a little spoiler here, that yes, the Emperor was evil. I think there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even if he was preparing for the Vong, of course we're talking legends here, even if he was preparing for the Vong, the means don't justify the ends in this case. As far as, now just building the Death Star and and keeping it hidden somewhere, and, then when the Vong comes saying, hey, look, we have this we can fight them with now. But the very fact that they built the Death Star and then used it on a civilian population, the fact that they used slave labor, the fact that they, did all these horrific things, the ends don't justify the means. So I think you can say almost, for me at least, I can say almost unequivocally that the Emperor was bad. He's a bad guy. Possible? I think that definitely was possible. But again, it wasn't, the ends didn't justify the means. Yeah, that's just... All right, number 2. All right. So let's see. My number 2 is, what if it was Leia that was trained instead of Luke? What if something had happened to Luke and Leia ends up the one having to be trained to be the quote-unquote last Jedi? Yeah. Well, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, not good, probably, but turn. Yeah, I think so. I think what helped Luke personally was the fact that he got into the conflict so late. Leia had grown up with it. Leia had, yeah, and she had seen death and carnage and what all was going on, and Luke was just farm boy, living his little life on Tatooine until, So yeah, I agree. It's Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then possibly have become Empress herself, or at least tried to. And there's actually a series, they actually did I don't know if you remember this, they did a series of comics that did what ifs. And that was one of them was Leia being trained by Yoda. And they did another one that was a really interesting one, is that the attack on the Death Star is only a partial success. That it does not fully destroy, it just manages to damage it enough so that the planet is not fully destroyed when it fires its laser. And there are survivors. And Leia is captured. And she's basically turned, she's brainwashed into becoming a loyal subject once again of the Emperor. And it was really good because Vader finds out from the Emperor who Leia is. And that's what makes him turn, is finding out that Leia was her daughter. And they did some really good what ifs. They did one of Vader surviving. What if Vader had survived the second Death Star? And it still turns to the light side. And this one I thought was kind of cheesy because the last panel is, in the comic, both him and Palpatine both end up surviving. And the last panel is Vader walking onto a rebel ship and saying, I know, I have, all the plans of my former master. I know what his plans are next. And he's wearing his armor, but it's pure white. I thought that was a little cheesy. A little too much on the nose of, oh, he's turned to the light side now. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just pure, white. Just, it was like, Yeah. Yeah. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of any other good what ifs. There's a lot of them. There's one that I think it was really interesting, and a YouTuber actually did this one, is during the battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar, the duel there, when Obi-Wan says the line, "The Chancellor is evil," and, well, of course, Anakin Vader at that point replies back, "From where I stand, the Jedi are evil." What if, instead of saying what he said in the movie, which is, of course, "Then you are lost," if he had stopped and said, "What do you mean? From your point of view, the Jedi are evil"? What if Obi-Wan had stopped and asked him, "Oh, how did you come to that conclusion? Basically, how did you come to that conclusion? What do you mean?" Instead of just going off and trying to kill him at that point, what if he had stopped and listened to Anakin? Or do you think Anakin was beyond reason at that point? Yeah. 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 Yeah, that is. I mean, there's several instances. Oh. I think knowing Han, even if he wasn't court-martialed, I don't see a honorable discharge in Han Solo's Imperial career. I just do not see it. I'm not saying that he would have gotten court-martialed, but yeah, I don't see his Imperial career ending on a high note. No. I think he would, at the most, he would have done his duty, done his, however long his, Imperial tenure was, and then gone right back into smuggling. I don't think he would have really seen that big of a difference in his post-Imperial career. Yeah. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing coming up in the future is the end of the Skywalker saga, of course, and yeah. Well, I've already warned everybody that my wife and anybody else who's going to go see the movie with me that I will be bawling like a baby, I'm sure, from the minute I hear the opening theme. I will probably be tearing up at that point. That's just me, but yeah, I will be an emotional wreck, I'm sure. Yeah. Yes. Knowing that you're seeing that crawl for the last time, that you're seeing all these things that I'm sure we'll see a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but it just won't be the same. And from a personal standpoint, this is me. Now that Disney owns 20th Century Fox, I would love to hear the fanfare again. Because for me, that was part of the Star Wars experience, is hearing that dun da 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 da, and then going into the long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. To me, that was part of the theme of but it is going to be very bittersweet and very, seeing these characters for the last time and saying goodbye to them. And yeah, it's until you start thinking about it. I said, until, you really stop and think about it. For me at least, I didn't really, I knew it, but it just didn't click that, wait, this is going to be the last time we see these characters. This is going to be the last time we see Luke Skywalker in any shape or form. Your Chewbacca, we've already said goodbye to Han. We're going to be saying goodbye to Leia. In many ways, we say goodbye to Leia last movie. These are the last time we're going to be seeing these iconic characters, and it's just like, wow. And I don't think it's really going to fully even hit me until I'm actually in the theater and the final credits roll. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would hope not, but again, you just never know. They have so much of a huge time period to go off of in such a vast galaxy that you could still have it in the same time period, but just have it in a completely different part of the galaxy, maybe even a part of the galaxy that is outside of the Imperial sphere or even the Rebel sphere. You could have it in a part of the galaxy that is in the unknown region. A different area of the unknown region. You could have a movie set within the Chiss Ascendancy. Yeah. They do the Chiss. And I mean, you could even bring in, like we said before, you could bring in alien races from the from Legends that were kind of outside. You could bring in this Saruki. The if you remember the book, they were the dinosaur-looking aliens that enslaved the humans and used their life force to run their ships. You have all different kinds of, because that's one thing they haven't really hit on in any of the new canon is any of the governments or power, quote unquote powers or groups that weren't either part of the Empire or part of the Rebellion. In the new canon, are there groups like that, or did the Empire just take over the entire galaxy? Yeah. How big exactly was the Empire? So yeah, those would be very, very interesting topics to discuss. And we will, yes, because we are going to be, next week, we are going to be doing a very interesting and I think should be a very interesting topic and very fun topic. We're going to be talking about life under Imperial rule. And now we've already discussed, and I've already given my opinions on the Emperor himself, but we're going to be discussing, was the Empire evil? Or were there people in the Empire? Could you be a member of the Empire and a high-ranking official and still be good? So we're going to be talking about what we think life would have been like under the Empire, and just kind of having a fun conversation about that. So that's what we call a segue. It should be. With that being said, you can find us, as always, here on Realm of the Mist on Anchor. Anchor is, of course, your one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. If you ever want to go into podcasting, they have all the tools to get you started for free, and you can start making money right away. That'll be 2 commercials and 1 show for Anchor. Thank you very much. But yeah, you can also check us out on iTunes or Apple Podcasts now, and want to give a quick shout out to Aaron, who gave us a 5-star review recently on iTunes. Thank you, Aaron. He's a friend of mine. I know him very well. Good guy. But yeah, also find us on Stitcher and Spotify and pretty much Google Play and pretty much Google Podcasts, I should say, and pretty much anywhere podcasts are heard. Check out all the shows on Realm of the Mist. Listening to one show helps out the entire channel, and we have some pretty awesome shows other than just War of the Stars. But yeah, check out all the shows there. You can find me. If you want to get a hold of us, several ways you can do that. You can email the show directly at realmofthemistentertainment@gmail.com. You can email me personally at johntolley3930@gmail.com. Also on Twitter, we are Realm of the Mist Entertainment, at Realm of the Mist Entertainment, and I am at John Tolley 1 because I'm John Mark Tolley 1 because I'm, of course, the #1 John Mark Tolley on Twitter, Facebook at Mark Tolley, and Instagram John Tolley 3930. Joe, where can they find you at? That's right. And until next time, remember, this isn't just my Star Wars. This isn't just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.